All right, I hope you all enjoyed that version of From a Fairy to a Child. That is by Karsten Braun, who is a German composer. And I did get the chat working there, everybody. I see some people saying hello. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Lewis Carroll Society of North America's 3rd annual Carrollian Show and Tell. This is a very special event every year. Just everyone loves it, seeing what their fellow members and friends have to show off, whether it's something they made, something they come across, a treasure part of their collection. And today we have got quite the group. We've got music, we've got books, we've got tea party settings, we've got all kinds of stuff that you're just going to love. Our first presenters are Amy and Zane, and they will be presenting an original opera. Not the whole thing, that would take a really long time, but just a little snippet, and they're going to tell us all about it. So Amy and Zane, please feel free. I see you, and you can unmute yourself as well. And I will make myself scarce while you tell us all about the opera.
Hi, everyone. We're so happy to be here. My name is Amy Scurria. I'm a professional composer and just thrilled to be amongst fellow lovers of, I like to call him Charles Dodgson. When I was 3 years old, I fell in love with Alice's Adventures in Wonderland around the same time that I fell in love with music. So it was a natural and thrilling thing to be able to combine the two and create an opera based on Alice. We called it Alice, an Operatic Wonderland. And during the pandemic, I created the music. My husband, Zane Corriher, and our fellow co-collaborator, Kelly Balmaceda, who's a soprano, they created the story, the adaptation, and the words. And so Zane's going to talk to you a little bit about how they did that.
Hi, everybody. My name is Zane Corriher. I'm a leadership consultant by day and then a writer on the side. And Amy's going to take you through some images of the opera as I talk. They're not all going to sync up exactly with what I'm talking about, but these are just some images from the performance. So I'd never written an opera libretto before, so this was a first. And I used to wonder when we would go see films that were adaptations of other stories, why the creators decided to make some of the creative choices they did, and why they wouldn't just include all of the characters and all of the scenes that are in the books. And as we sat down to write, one of the things that became apparent really clearly was, were I to include the entire story from Lewis Carroll, we'd have a 6-hour opera on our hands. And I don't think I would want to watch my own 6-hour opera. I can't imagine anybody would want to do that. So we had to make some choices. So there's so much to talk about, but I want to focus on some of the structure of the story and how we made some of the choices we made. So when adapting the story, one of the things that I learned quickly was how to combine certain characters into one character. So one of the things that we chose to do was take the mouse from the very beginning of the story. When Alice first enters into Wonderland and encounters this mouse and kind of insults him and scares him, we took that part and then merged it with the White Rabbit, which became part of our theme. So one of the themes that we struggled with in the beginning was, how do we move this story along? Because one of the things that I know a lot of people like about the story is it kind of goes from scene to scene to scene. And when we were writing the libretto, it was unclear how to tie it all together. And so one of the benefits of bringing in the rabbit so early on in the story was to get Alice to chase him through the entire first act. And that propelled the story as she was trying to find the Queen's party. That was really the first thing that she's trying to do. So she would follow the rabbit, trying to get to this Queen's party, which she was very interested in attending. So the mouse was one of the adaptations. Another adaptation was the king, who my take on him was he was a bumbling fool throughout, his part of the book. And what we were wanting to do to really bring the story to life was map the libretto to Joseph Campbell's hero's journey. And so the king near the end became a wise guide for Alice, who he was weak, kind of in our opera, in the same as the story, in that the queen had weakened him as a character. But he had this inner strength, and he helped Alice move toward her identity. So that leads us to the main theme that we really wanted to focus on. And when Kelly and I and Amy were meeting to talk about what are we trying to say, we noticed that in the story, the idea of identity seems to come up a lot in the question, you know, who are you? Alice growing and shrinking and changing all along. And so what we did was we created the first act of Alice being more of a child and wanting to get to this Queen's party, because a Queen's party must be elegant and wonderful and wondrous, as she's encountering all of these strange creatures throughout Wonderland. And part of the comedy that came in was Alice finding this nonsensical and funny, but the characters of Wonderland are very serious about what they're doing. It's all serious business to them. So that was the first part. And then Act 2 starts off with Alice wandering through the forest. And she is ready to go home, but she can't go home until she discovers who she truly is deep down inside. And that ends up, the end of the opera ends up with her and the Queen battling it out. Alice finally figures out that who she is deep down inside without needing validation from others around her. And she owns who she is. The cards fall, the curtain falls, and that's the end of the opera. And so then Amy and I would love to share with you a short musical preview of
and I just
opera.
have to share the final line that I love. So Zane and Kelly wrote a final line that she says, she's constantly asked, who are you? Who are you? And she says, I am Alice. And Zane wrote this fantastic line about her name, but she says, I am Alice and I am enough. And that ends the opera. So we'll play for you now this is a preview. So these are just segments from the performance we did. This was a performance with a cast of 6, a fantastic cast, one of whom had just returned from the Met. He plays the Mad Hatter. And this was done in the historical hall in Elizabeth City, North Carolina, McGuire Theater.
What is strange, but this is, oh dear. What is happening to me? Hark, who am I? Who are you? I asked you first. Laughing, crying, he's grinning madly, fervently. Let's have some tea. It's as bad as it seems. You've got to keep your wits about you, girl. You've got to keep your wits about you, girl. Order, I thank you, I'd love to order more tea. Could I just ask? No, I am going to starve. You're nothing but a pack of cards.
Amazing. I was still giggling at the Queen of Hearts scream there. That was fantastic. If you could stop sharing your screen, Amy, that'd be excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We have a few questions here in the Q&A, and then I would like you to come back at the end too for a group Q&A, but the first thing everybody wants to know is where can they see this opera in its entirety?
Oh, thanks so much for asking. We're working on getting it out there. So if you have friends in the opera world, please let them know about our project. But we can sort of unofficially, we're 99% certain that it's happening, but it'll be done in Texas this summer. I don't know that you think we can officially announce it?
Officially, unofficially, I think.
Yeah.
It's so close, yeah.
Yeah, it's at the Red River Opera Festival in Texas. We'll be doing it, and we are so excited. And then Kelly and I, our other collaborator, are going to a conference in January to share it more widely. So we're hoping that we're sharing it with some universities. So we're hoping that universities will pick it up. But you can certainly, if for anyone interested in following the project, you can go to my website, amyscurria.com/Alice, and we'll keep updates about where and when it will be performed. Thanks for asking.
What city in Texas? There's a question.
Oh, city, Wichita.
Wichita Falls?
I think Wichita,
it's
or Red
about
River.
an hour north of Dallas. Wichita. It's the Red River Opera Festival.
Yeah. I'll print, once they release the PR information, I'll put it on the website so that
Great.
Yeah.
And feel free to drop your website link into the chat or your YouTube channel as well. I'm sure people would love to visit that. And then Ryan, he gives you lots of effusive praise. I'm not going to read all of it. You can read it later just because we're pressed for time. But then he ends with a question: were there specific parts of the book or other interpretations that made you settle on the search for identity?
I think the theme of identity resonated most deeply with Kelly, who played Alice. I call her Alice. With Kelly and myself and Amy, and we had to settle on just one to tell a cohesive story. So I think, just from a personal perspective, that was the theme that resonated with me most strongly. It seemed to be supported most strongly by the text, and we wanted to stay as true to Carroll's story as possible. So that helped us to do that, and it just made for a more streamlined story as well. Because I think, from a relatability standpoint, I think most people are able to relate to the search for self, and understanding who you are and how that works. So those were.
And then outside forces kind of challenging who you are, sort of people questioning you and having that feeling of constantly having to define yourself. And we felt that was Alice. Yeah.
And that was one of the last piece, and I'll stop. But one of the adaptations we made for the Queen was, instead of chopping off people's heads, she would take your head, meaning she would get inside your head,
your mind,
and make you and assimilate you into her card army or into her court. So that people were confused. Her followers were confused about who they were, and that was part of what she's trying to do with Alice. So
you sort of wrote her as a narcissist.
She's a malignant narcissist, and so she would often talk, and not just off with your head, but she would talk about the people. The king would talk about the queen is going to take your head, meaning she's going to take your identity, and that's the thing to guard against. So that and a lot more are reasons why we settled on that theme. Yeah, that's a great question, Brian. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to tell you, when I was watching your video, that I watched it ahead of the presentation today, and I paused on that, the Queen and her minions and Alice. And I mean, I know we're all a little biased here, but I just thought, is there any more iconic sight like in the world? Immediately, what that is when you see those little cards, and like it's just iconic and instantly recognizable. So thank you both so much. And you have to read the chat. Everyone just absolutely was blown away by your music and hearing from you today. And yeah, if you want to mute yourself and stop video, and then at the end, we'll all come back for group Q&A. Thank you so much, Amy and Zane. And by the way, everyone, I am letting our presenters introduce themselves just to keep things moving a little. And I thought that'd be fun if they just told you either what they do for a day job or how they got interested in the Carrollian universe. And next up, we have Robert, who is going to show us some Mad Tea Party settings, and you are all just going to love this. So Robert, please turn on your camera and unmute yourself and say hello.
Hi, I'm Robert Watkins, and I'm a math professor. And I got involved using Lewis Carroll in my class, and I started teaching a class for the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute called the Mad Hatter's Tea Party. And that was about 6 weeks before I joined the Lewis Carroll Society of North America, because I needed to know more about Lewis Carroll. So I am going to, I don't know if you can see me, I'm going to change into the Mad Hatter, and my friend the Dormouse is here to help me. And this is the 1 minute presentation that we get to make to sell our class. Oops, that's not right. And I will be doing this presentation for the 7th time in about 1 month. And so here we go. Hi, I'm Hatter, and this is my friend Dormouse. We'd like to invite everybody that's watching to join our class, the Mad Hatter's Tea Party, on Wednesdays from 2 to 4 at Kaiser University. I don't know if you can see that one.
Yeah, if you pull back just a little bit, perfect.
Okay. I'm sorry, thrown off. It's been about a century and a half since Alice has created her in the wrong place. I know why. Sorry. Why should you join our class? Only one reason. Hatter, chatter. That captivatingly clever, charismatically crafty commentary on Wonderland. It's been about 150 years since Alice's story was first told. And in that time, there have been tens of thousands of spin-offs, all kinds of ballets and operas and movies and short stories. And there's so many things out there that we could talk about that we're going to have to focus like a laser and only pick a few topics. So let me see now. There's the Big Bang, genetic epistemology, and the microscopic bestiary, and I forgot. You get your very own identity disorder. It's free. It's not a big one, but it's a lot of fun. Well, you know, I guess I'm wrong. There's more than a few topics, but that's okay, because it's not as if we threw in everything but the kitchen sink. Wait a second. That's a vacuous, negative, counterfactual, which means I'm sure I'm wrong. And if I'm sure of something, I must be right. And I know I am, because we need that kitchen sink, because it's a party. Actually, it's a tea party. And it comes with china and linens and all kinds of savories and sweets. And I make the jams and curds myself. And so I hope that you'll get to sign up. And if you do, be sure to email us. Anyway, thank you. So that's the presentation that I generally give the class. The people, there's about 500 people that belong to the Ollie and come. And now let me find what I want to share. Okay, so as I said, it's a class that I've been teaching for the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute at Florida State. And the class runs for 6 weeks. Originally, I was teaching this similar material in my class at at Kaiser University. And in that class, what I call math appreciation, the students weren't really tuning in on some of the things like identity that I wanted them to. And I said something to one of the faculty members, and they suggested that I teach an OLLI. And so I've created this new format for teaching. I give people different readings. There's group readings, there are shared readings for small groups, and then there are unique readings. So I give 120 chapter readings that only one person in the room reads. But everybody gets to read on all the topics that we talk about. In the first week, you can see on this screen, there's the menu. I make all the treats, and you can see a picture of them, and you can see the party. And then 6 slides from the lectures that I give for that day. The first week is all about Carroll and his surroundings and his biography. And then in week 1, we talk about math and among Aboriginal people and bases. And in the third week, it's word parties and the significance of word games. And there's so many different topics. Pretty much anything somebody wants to talk about, we can address. And there's like 400 different chapter readings that the people have read when they come to the party. Week 5 is about postmodernism and how I believe Lewis Carroll is significant in that all the people that worked on things often talked specifically about that. And then week 6, I'm in week 5. I'm in week 5. This is about identity. And then in week 6, we talk about reflections on what we've learned, and then some various other topics, such as Lewis Carroll's religious beliefs. And I've already gotten Charlie Lovett's book, and I'm working on that. What I wanted to most show you today is the china that goes with it. I'm quite proud of the table settings that I do, and these are all of the different pieces of china. That's my wedding setting on the left and my grandmother's on the right. And I have tea for 20, and I have 5 complete different table settings. And that includes various table decorations that are related to the topics of the week that we're doing. And so it's quite a bit to actually try to move in. I have to set this all up for each of the parties in about 2 hours, and then I have another hour the following day when I come in and set all the food out before we have our 2-hour presentation. And here's I think the icing on the cake is the boxes that I've created in order to carry them in. And I've decoupaged 15 different boxes. And here's some pictures of some of them. And I have them here with me today. And I'd like to show you some of the table settings here. See if I can do that. This is just 3 of the 6 different weeks table settings that I have set up. I don't know if you can see that one. It's hard for me to see. I hope I'm not making anyone dizzy.
We can see it. It looks good.
Okay. You can see it. Okay. So that's week 1. And I especially like the yellow cup here, as it, this is the only china that I bought actually to work with the tea party. And is that those yellow cups and this yellow teapot. I think you can see that. And then this is week 2. This is where we talk about primitive math. And you can see the checkerboard relates to that. And in this one, we have bouquets of flowers, which I think I've shown otherwhere. This is the 3rd week. And this is my grandmother's china.
Well, if you could angle it down a little bit, we're not seeing this
angle
one very
down.
well.
Okay, there we go. Thank you.
Perfect.
There we go. So, yeah, so these are the boxes. on some of the teapots. And there we go. And now on every one of the boxes here, I'm gonna just set that there and take one thing down. And in every one of these boxes, one of the reasons that one of the practical reasons that I decoupaged them, right, was because we needed to know what was in them. So every box has pictures of what's in them. These are the yellow teacups. And not only that, but both the box and the lid have them on there somewhere. And every one of the boxes has a set of, these are some Alice cards. And this is find the knave and the lawyers. And the knave and the lawyers are down here. That's the lawyers. And there's the knave. And so when we go to break down our tea party for 20 people, it's pretty necessary that we're able to identify which boxes we need to put things in as we're clearing off the table. So actually,
and we do have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Who washes between the whiles, Robert?
You know, I have to tell you, this tea party is all consuming. The very first time I did it in the fall and the spring semester. Now I only do it in the spring semester because for 6 weeks, virtually every day of the week, I'm either shopping for the food to create the menus for 20 people, or I'm preparing the food. I have to get up early in the morning to whip the scones cream. I make all the clotted, the lemon curd and lime curd and orange curd. I make those and the jams myself. And so then Wednesday, we set it up and tear it down. And then Thursday, I wash the dishes. And pretty much I've got Friday and Saturday off, and I shop for the food again on Sunday. So for about 6 weeks, it's pretty intense.
The amount of care that goes into this is just amazing. And actually, we have some people wondering, how can you buy a box? But maybe you could give an instructional video sometimes on making a box.
I can show you you can decoupage them yourselves.
Nice.
But, that was another task. Obviously not while I was doing the courses, but between courses.
Yeah. Wow.
So.
And of course, I mean, there aren't a lot of questions here, but just pretty much everyone wants to take this class is what they want, which I would like to as well. I love it that you have to sell it to the students. Like, are they just sitting there like, dazzle me, professor?
Well, I'm going to blow my own horn here. I really don't like to, but this is funny because it's full in 5 minutes. I know people that wake up and set their alarms. And I have a couple groupies. I have 4 people that have taken it like 4 times.
Wow.
And I give them different readings every time they come through the class, and they've become close personal friends.
How wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We actually have a request to take a closer look at the teapots, but we're running out of time for your segment. So maybe during social hour, if you could do that later.
That'll work great.
Wonderful.
We'll do that later.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Robert. Bye-bye. All right. Oh, and we can see your screen just fine. So I am going to make myself scarce. Dieter, take it away.
Good evening. Apologies for the rudeness of me being blacked out. I hope you can see my screen. So
yes, we can.
I think most of you know me, but just to introduce myself in full, my name is Dieter de Lange. I'm a 30-year-old Alice fan from the town of Potchefstroom in the northwest province of South Africa. I work as an interpreter at the Northwest University in my hometown. I have been an Alice fan since I discovered the story at age 4, back in 1996, but I've only been a serious Carroll collector for the past 11 years or so. Like many others, like most of you, I also loved Disney's 1951 animated film. Furthermore, the episode on Carroll in the Great Books television series of 1994 cast a spell over me, especially the music. My father, who is a literature professor, recorded the episode, taped it. I'm not sure, I think I was also 4 in 1996 when it showed here. And yeah, I just posted Alice going through the mirror because I think it is my #1 favorite illustration of both books, is this one of her going through the mirror. I'm just trying to get my... So this is my Carrollian collection as of 2022. Not big, I know, but I have found some nice items over the years, I have to say. And at the time of writing, my copy of Chris Riddle's Looking Glass is on the way. I think if you can see on the top shelf, the red, there's Wonderland there. Yeah, so his Looking Glass is on the way. 2 items in my Carroll collection I cherish particularly are Afrikaans translations of Alice and Looking Glass, published in 1965 and 1968 respectively. This Afrikaans translation for Wonderland was done especially for the centenary, though I cannot confirm with 100% accuracy whether these were the first translations into Afrikaans. I'll have to do some research. And a combined volume of both translations were published in 1987 under the title Die Avonture van Alice, The Adventures of Alice. The Afrikaans edition of Wonderland was republished in 2016 with illustrations by Marjorie van Heerden. I'll show a picture of that now. The translations were done by Andre Pierre Brink, born 1935, passed away 2015, and he was just one of our most acclaimed novelists and academics here in South Africa. He also translated an abridged version of Don Quixote for children in 1966, and a full translation of The Wind in the Willows, published in 1974 as Die Wind in die Wilges. So here's the Afrikaans Wonderland, and you can see they publish it in a similar red as the Macmillan, and the Afrikaans title is Alice Avonture in Wonderland. I think that's straightforward. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, published by Heman and Rousseau in 1965. And Looking Glass in Afrikaans is just Alice deur die spieël, or Alice through the mirror. And my Wonderland didn't have a dust jacket, but the dust jacket was just a colored picture of her with the dodo, that picture and the animals in the background, although the trimmings on her pinafore, I remember, was a dark pink, whereas here for the Looking Glass, the trimmings of her pinafore are red. This is the 2016 republished edition of Wonderland with illustrations by South African artist Marjorie van Heerden. I'll post her website on the chat if anyone wants to see her illustrations for Alice. And I know I cannot point out all the puns and word plays in the Afrikaans versions, but I do want to share this. One of the cleverest word plays in the Afrikaans version is found in the episode of Alice and the Sheep in Looking Glass. Instead of feather, the sheep yells lig. As a verb, it means to lift. As a noun, it means a light. Now, in the English version, Alice gets annoyed and asks the sheep, "Why do you keep saying feather all the time? I am not a bird." To which the sheep responds, you are a little goose," which offends Alice. But in the Afrikaans, this becomes the following. Alice asks her, "Why do you keep saying lig all the time?" And she retorts, "Ek is nie 'n lamp nie. I am not a lamp." That pun on light, lig being to lift and a light, to which the sheep responds, jy het nie meer verstand as jy. You have no more intelligence than one, hence leaving Alice offended. Right, so as I said, this was a short presentation, but I know time is limited. But I do want to read to you Jabberwocky in Afrikaans, as it was translated by André Pierprank. So I will do my best, and if you want to laugh at my pronunciations, just make sure your microphone is muted. But yeah, so Jabberwocky, and as is given in Afrikaans, brabbel woggel. Dis brillig in die glymelike dis, droel en drindel in die wyb. Bibberkolies in die borriges en die veniere rode snyp. Pas op vir die brabbelwog, my seun. Sy tande byt, sy kloue gryp. Pas op vir die joep-joep voel se dreun en die wroedige ribber knyp. Hy vat sy swerpe sabel vas en soek die afgemangste ding. By die toemtoemboom met die ronde kwas staan hy en dink. Hy staan nog daar en drommel droom, toe kom die vieroog brabbelwog. Hy sweep daar uit die warpoelboom en borbel boonop nog. 1-2, 1-2, die swarte swaard, vlam heen en weer dwars deur. Hy gryp die kop vas aan die baard en galippel huis toe weer. Het jy die brabbelwog verslaan? Kom, dit moet ons eers vier. O prachtlik dag, hoeré, hef aan, hy giglag van plesier. Dis brillig in die glymelike dis, droel en drindel in die wyb. Bibberkolies in die borriges en die veniere rode snyp. And that's it. Thank you very much.
What a treat to hear Jabberwocky in Afrikaans. And Theater, we have a lot of people thanking you in the comments and appreciating a bunch of your books, wanting them. And someone did answer, I had a feeling this might happen with this crew, that the first Afrikaans translation was in 1934, according to Alice in a World of Wonderlands. 17 more were published before 2010, and 4 Looking Glasses. So there you go.
Thanks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dieter. And yeah, we'd love it if you could stick around for the group Q&A at the end. All right, let's see. Next, who's next? We've got Michael, who's going to show us some vintage posters. Hi, Michael. You can go ahead and unmute yourself and say hello.
Hello.
Hi.
I'll start.
All right, I will make myself scarce.
Yeah, I'm Mike Eckman. I'm a retired actuary, and as a mathematician, been interested in Dodgson and Carroll. And my first introduction was, I have my parents' box set from 1946 of Through the Looking Glass and Adventures in Wonderland with the illustrations colored. And so that was my first introduction. I still have the books in the original box and it's falling apart. But when in 1972, my wife and I had a chance to go over to England. It was my first trip to England, her second. We stopped in Oxford and I was happy to see a poster up there, which I have, I bought a copy of it here for a Lewis Carroll exhibition at the Chapter House in Christchurch. I was interested to continue to see that the price at that time was 10p, which translated into a quarter in US currency at the time. And I would imagine this poster probably cost about the same. When I picked it up, I can't remember. I have to admit, I don't remember much about the exhibition itself, but I've always had the poster and always have displayed it over the years, and it's held up very well. The cost of attending the exhibition today would probably be about $1.80. We visited other Carroll and Alice sites, and I've been back to Oxford several times since then and have gotten a more extensive tour of Christchurch and have enjoyed that. The picture on the poster is from the Lion and the Unicorn chapter of Through the Looking Glass. The next item I have, whoops. I won't get, oh, there we go, is a advertising poster for the pennyroyal edition of Through the Looking Glass. So this dates back to 1983. Colleen's uncle was a commercial artist, and somebody in a bookstore gave this to him, and he said, "Do you want it?" And I said, "Sure." Now I did commit the sin of taking this and having it mounted on a board to make it easier for me to display. But my wife and I have a special attachment which twins such as Tweedledum and Tweedledee, since we have two sets of identical twins. And so literature with twins, stories with twins have always been of interest to me. The picture itself is a combination out of the pennyroyal edition of the beginning of chapter 4, where Dum and Dee are on each side of the page. And then you can see how for the poster, took away all the headings and then tilted them towards one another. So this is another piece of art that has been with me for quite a while. And of course, having twin sons at more than one Halloween, they were Tweedledum and Tweedledee. The last item I have, my wife Colleen reminded me of it since she collects dolls. When we were out once, we found this, and it's another piece of ephemera with paper dolls. So there's the White Rabbit and Alice, and 2 sets of clothes for each, which are attractive enough, but the border around the outside I thought was very interesting and very nice to have. So this has been hanging up with the doll collection over the years. So those are the 3 items which I had that have had for many years and I've really enjoyed.
Wonderful. I'm coveting those paper dolls for sure. Wow. And
yeah, I don't know when we acquired them, and I have no idea of what the price was. Yeah.
Wow. And I'm so curious, actually, if you could stop your screen share, that'd be great. I'm so curious. This has nothing to do with your presentation, really. How common is it to have 2 sets of twins? That's really something.
Yeah, being an actuary back in the day, I figured it out. It was 1 in 10,000.
Oh my! I knew you would have an answer because you were a mathematician.
I think it would be more common today, now that women are having children later and there are fertility drugs. Yeah.
Fascinating. Well, thank you so much for sharing those items with us. And if you could stick around for the group Q&A at the end, I would love that. And we are going to move on now to Jackie and his virtual logical garden. Jackie, you can feel free to. Hello. There you are. Hi. I remember Jackie took part in our very first show and tell a few years ago. And Jackie, we are trying to limit ourselves to 8 minutes, just so you know. I wasn't sure if you got that, all the info or not. All right, take it away.
Okay, thank you. This is Jacqueline. So I think last show and tell, I showcased my virtual reality application, and also some of the demos in the screens. But right now, I want to share with you experience, the multiplayer experience that all of you can participate, and we can see if it works. And this is extremely experimental, but why not, right? So I'm going to paste a link so that all of you can jump into this virtual garden. I will also share a little bit how it was designed. So I'm going to share my screen, and okay, hopefully we all get to see each other as avatars in this.
No, we actually do not see your screen at the moment.
Okay, let me make sure I share my screen. Wow, I already see.
There it is. Yep.
Wow, they're so before you go into the room, you can choose the avatars. Let's see what you what character you like. So I got a few Victorian age scholars, and we got a few well, a few monkeys and a few scientists. Maker Faraday was there, and of course we have. I'm going to be a white rabbit for today. So if you're entering the room, hopefully we'll get to see you soon. Okay, someone choose a Lord Byron. Okay, and we see some mask with a cape. Hey, hello everyone. Welcome to the Logical Garden. Well, it is a Logical Garden designed by, well, designed by me, but I refer these two books, Alice in Adventure. Well, I'm not sure you can see this. The Game of Logic, and Alice with Adventure Underground, hopefully. And we do have a tea party here. Not as well set up as other panelists, but I learned something today, so I'm going to make sure I decorate well. So you'll get a good dessert table next time. And if you get to eat the cake, you'll see you're growing taller and taller, and that will help you to navigate through this garden, because it is a maze. So it's not easy. And if you come here to drink the potion, maybe you guys can see a super large rabbit, right? That's me. And if you take the potion, well, you can get smaller and smaller, and just like going through the wonderland. But that won't help you to navigate the maze, because you'll be too little. Okay, I'm going to eat the cake so that I got my original size back. Okay, I do see a few guys. I saw people are scoring. So this is a logical garden, and the riddles are designed based on the book Game of Logic. So this here we got example compartment here. So some green apples are blue, and I think we got some experts here. So I just put the red counter. Red counter means some or one or more, and the gray counter means none, right? And according to the Game of Logic. So some green apples are blue, which means you put the red counter over here. Okay, then you get to solve the riddle. I'm going to just walk around. There's a book here if you have some ideas, and why is a ribbon like a writing desk? If you have your answer, and feel free to put your answer here. And if you want to see others' answer, there's some others' answer, like, okay, they're both idle, of course. Carroll wants to refer post, yeah, that's my note. And we got our friend Eric Gerlach. Okay. There are a few interesting notes in this book, like why the river is like a writing desk. Oh my goodness, we have a leader here. He must be an Asper, solving those. Well, solving those riddles will give you points, but if you get it wrong, it's going to reduce the point. Okay. So, caterpillar do not exist. Well, how do you represent something do not exist, right? You got two gray counters, then, because I'm a designer of the riddle, so I'm very, and I know how those riddle work, so I got a little bit advantage. But this is all I got to share with you guys, and the link will be live, and feel free to take your friends or your kids to jump into this logical garden and to compete with the Lewis Carroll's game of logic. And this designed to be a collaborative game. So, and you guys can also talk to each other inside this virtual place and to discuss like which counter to be placed where. So I think that'll be really fun to bring Lewis Carroll's experience as a story that you can enter, and also some riddles as challenge that you can solve and learn from each other's. And so that's all I have.
That's fantastic. How interactive. I didn't know we were gonna be able to be so interactive today. And I love that 17 people were on there at one point, I think, right? Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. and well, we do have some positive scores, so that's amazing.
Great. Yeah, I would want to drop the link in the chat again, just so people have it. I know some things can kind of get lost in there. And yeah, and honestly, I don't see any questions. All I see is just people cooing about how cool this is. So I can't wait to check it out later. I kind of have on my hosting duties here, I wasn't able to log in there, but I can't wait to check that out later on. Thank you so much, Jackie.
Thank you so much. The riddles are really hard. So and I put the link again, so you can save it and you can join it the other time. Thank you so much.
Riddles are really hard, huh? It sounds like a challenge. Okay. I'm on it. All right, thanks, Jackie. And if you could stick around for the group Q&A at the end, that would be great. And next.
My name is Dean Howard. I'm in Albany, New York. I've been just kept running into Lewis Carroll and the books and everything else he did, and just gradually developed an interest. When I lived in California, I went to a meeting of the Lewis Carroll Society and just actually joined this past year. And about 5 years ago, I was in an antique store near where I live, and I found one of the most surprisingly good things I've ever discovered in an antique store. This is an edition that was written in one of the several hundred Aboriginal languages in Australia. And it was written in about 1975. It was, according to the book, it was the 44th language that Alice was translated into, which is actually relatively early among the 175 or so that exist now. And I do have a few of the images from that. Let me see. This is still in the slideshow mode. Let me see. Okay. Let me see if I can page up. Right. I'm going to. Okay. Yes. This is just the title page, and this was translated. I believe what happened is it was written in the original language and translated back into English. And this edition has the original language and the English translation side by side. And naturally, it's very difficult to understand. That's a language I don't begin to know. And I do have some of the pictures. I've avoided showing some of the pictures of Alice because they tend to be drawn without clothes. I don't want to use the word nude because they're anatomically incorrect. It's a style where they're basically drawn with very few features. They don't have elbows or kneecaps, among other things. But what they did to adapt it into that world was quite interesting, because they preserved all of the scenes from the book, and some things like the trial. They don't have trials by jury, so that scene was somewhat limited. And they turned the rabbit into a kangaroo, which Alice would be more likely to see. But the illustrations which were added in a later edition are just fascinating. This is Alice encountering the pigeon, who is accusing her of being a snake, and you can see why in this picture. The Mad Hatter and the Marsh Hare were translated into a stockman and a horse. And one of the other changes they made was, instead of parodying Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, that scene has a parody of Waltzing Matilda, the Dormouse being replaced by Kalala. The cat does not look like anything that Tenniel would have given us, but I just love this illustration. And the last thing I was going to share is just a collection near the end of the book where the tea party is about, or the trial leads to Alice being awakened by everything that goes on. This is just everybody at the party. The playing cards apparently something which was not part of the experience of those people, so they're just replaced by leaves. And the queen is a witch spirit, the king is a cannibal, and there's the white kangaroo. And it's interesting to see they managed to keep some of the wordplay alive. The sisters, Alice, or Lacey, Tilly, and Elsie, exist with very similar names, and they managed to create a new pun out of that. Just a moment, I will stop sharing the screen and just read this one piece. That the sisters become Tilly, Ichila, and Alichi, which are, one of them is an anagram of Alichi, which is the name of Alice in this version. And it occurred to me that I don't know if it occurred to anybody to make this particular pun, but if her name is known as Alichi, then instead her would be known as Alichi-ology. But the name Tilly means flame, firestick, or match in that language. And the Dormouse is telling the story of how they live in a tank. Alice asked what they lived on and said, cooked food. Much surprised, Alichi said, but how could they cook it? On a fire, of course, said the koala. Don't forget they had Tilly, which is the name of the girl and also a word for match. And there are, of course, some omissions because of things which are just not part of the experience of the people who lived in that part of the world. The one that I'm particularly sorry about is that the text says in the Station of the Mock Turtle, they had a character called a Kanga turtle. I would love to have seen that illustrated, although I can't even imagine what it would look like. My only thought is that whoever was supposed to illustrate it thought it was as difficult as illustrating a wasp in wigs, so she chose not to do it. Let's see. Oh, the only other little thing, I'm just curious to see if anybody has an answer, because they changed the riddle of why is a raven like a writing desk to why is a crow like a tank? If anybody has an answer for that, please let me know. And that's all I have to say about this. Thank you very much for giving me the time.
Well, thank you. It's so fascinating, the wordplay that happens in other cultures. It's why is a crow like a tank, was it?
Yes. No idea.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Dean. And if you could stick around for the group Q&A at the end, I would appreciate that. Wonderful. And next up, prepare for some inspiration here, because we've got Gabriela, and she is going to show us her Alice room, fully decorated, Wonderlandian. So Gabriela, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and turn on your camera and say hello.
Can you guys see me?
Now I can, yep.
Okay,
Perfect.
great. Well, I'm Gabriela Boentges. I go by Ella and by Curiously Alice in social media. I am an artist. I am a software engineer and also a bead collector. And throughout the years, I got pretty much into Alice, not because of the books, but actually because of the video games. But it was a particular painting from the Cheshire Cat that got the whole room started. So I'm gonna start showing you my Wonderland. And of course, like in any Wonderland, there is a Matty party. We have very special cats that have been finding out throughout the years, especially ones that were uniquely designed with Alice in mind, found in Etsy. Of course, there's always an eat me and a drink me, because you always gotta have that in Wonderland. And it's, of course, it's always tea time. I'm also like to collect anything that I can find of Alice, being carpet, paintings, especially by other artists, to put on my walls. In particular, I like to see the artist's kind of view of how the different characters look, you know, being the Queen of Hearts, Alice, the Mad Hatter, you know, the March Hare and everything. I like to collect the books, very unique styles, like an accordion kind of book, just to see, you can see the different, how the pop-up appear on the books, you know. There's just a lot of collections that have gone throughout the years. I have found trinkets here and there in bookstores, in art shows, in artist alleys, and just also like from Disney, because they also sell a lot of good things. And I like to see, you know, different artworks, the different books and artworks, and also in every theme that it can be about Alice. So there will be about, you know, just Alice as a character, Alice in real life, also books about Lewis Carroll, because it's very important. Here's a very, very nice, I love this book. It's kind of like a carousel kind of book by a very famous artist, Benjamin Lacombe. I love his artwork with Alice. And of course, this is all still a working project, so I'm still looking into finding more books. I would love to get the Afrikaans books just to include my collections, but I also like to get like from different other languages. I have, of course, Korean, Japanese, Ukrainian, Italian, Japanese, French and all that, Spanish. So any other language translation I can get, I would love to add it into my collection. And of course, also in here, I like to put a special dedication to the one that started it all, which is the McGee's Alice in Alice Madeline's Return. This is the one that started my obsession. What I'm going to call it obsession, my love for Alice and everything related to Alice. Just a little bit, like I said, a lot of trinkets here and there, things that I have done, things I have collected, another carousel book with John Tenniel's illustration in this one, which I love how it was managed in color and everything. I think it's a very well-designed book, but like every collector should have it. And that's pretty much it. Again, I do have still other books from other artists I have met in the Lewis Carroll Society. Just other books about Lewis Carroll. I love this one. Yeah.
I would like to suggest that if anyone wants to take a look at something a little closer, why don't you request it in the Q&A or the chat? We did have a request for the lanterns up top.
Yeah, and of course this.
That's about the lanterns.
Oh yes, the lanterns. Of course, this study is heavily based on Disney's Alice Magic Party. I love how they use it kind of like a Chinese kind of lanterns, with this kind of like paper lanterns, and of course I have to put it on my room to put it up there. And of course, in here we are having the art wall, where I want to start collecting also the Alice world from different artists. This is the newest edition, and of course, this is the one that started it all. This is the Cheshire painting that started the collection of the room. Yeah, sorry, and also let us know if we're going too fast. Sometimes there's so many things to show. I don't know what to focus on. But, yeah, anything that can be Alice related is going to be found. Yeah, and also just a view of, like I said, this is my website that I have created, and some of the art that I also have created, and probably will be putting in the, just put it in the art wall as well. And that's pretty much it. That will be the end of our tour.
Wow, thank you so much. Like, I'm excited to see your room for sure, but I'm also excited to see you because for years and years I've known you as Curiously Alice, but I don't think you ever show photos of yourself.
Be like that face reveal kind of thing, like, hey, I'm Curiously Alice.
Here I am, world. Well, I'm so excited to officially meet you. I'm curious, how many times have you dressed up as American McGee's Alice for Halloween?
Oh, not counting also kind of like those anime conventions and all that, because I of course have to go like that. I will say probably like 10 times I did, and I have pictures somewhere there of me as the American McGee Alice, because that is a very cool dress, I'll get to.
Excellent. Do you have any pictures handy actually that we can look at, or no?
You know, I will have to look them up and everything. It has been quite a few years since I did that, but
all right. Well, thank you so much. We have, I mean, just basically, there aren't any questions. Is everyone very jealous of your room and coveting items in your collection? When you turn off your camera, if you could drop your website into the chat, we have a request for that if you want to put the link to that. And thank you so much, Gabriela. And we'll see you in just a few minutes for the group Q&A.
All right, thank you.
Right, and we have, I lost my little cheat sheet, but I'm pretty sure I know who's next. And that would be Mark, who's going to show us some original art and a few prints as well, I believe.
I am. You can all see me?
I can see you.
That's all that matters.
Thumbs up.
We've been asked to introduce ourselves. My name is Mark Burstein. Alice is in my DNA. My father, Sandor, who many of you knew, was a collector, president of our society, and so on. I've been writing about Alice for over 50 years from college. I've edited or contributed to over 20 books, including the annotated Alice, the sesquicentennial edition. I've been editing or co-editing the Night Letter for 25 years or so, collecting for almost 50. You can see a little bit in back. I have over 4,000 books in 143 languages, 2 more coming this week, I hope. So anyway, I can't really show you around the whole collection. I think that's for one of those collectors things in the future. But I will show you one small corner of it, which is over the last few years, I've been very interested in collecting original art. Maybe it's apparent why owning the one-of-a-kind original is so much more satisfying to me than a print. But you know, this is the age of NFTs, so maybe you all understand that already. Anyway, I do want to apologize for the quality of the photos. I have it's hard to shoot through glass. I have a very narrow hallway, and I didn't have a lot of time. So anything I am about to show you, you can assume is original art, unless I specifically say it's a print. So let me see if I can share my screen. And that would be slideshow from beginning. I know how to work this. And that looks about right. You can all see that?
We cannot actually.
You cannot. Let's try that again. Now?
Yes, we see your desktop background. Yep. Oh, and there's it. There it is.
See the universe. Okay. Now you see my room.
Yes, in full screen. Perfect.
Whee! Okay. Where are we? I'm sorry, I got the chat here. Let me just shut that down. So this is I live in a, well, I don't live, well, I sort of live here. I spend a lot of time in my ivory tower, which is a 2-story tower, which is entirely devoted to my Alice collection. As you walk in the door from the ground floor, you see, this is the hallway. So let's start going through this. You see to the right, somewhere. Why am I not going down? I am pressing, there we go. That is a portrait of Lewis Carroll by Harry Furness around 1890. On the opposite wall for that are 2 sets of drawings by Walt Kelly, the creator of the comic strip Pogo, which is one of my other lifetime obsessions. The first of them is a collection of oversized drawings of the Pogo characters as Wonderland denizens in the trial scene, but they were never published in Carroll's lifetime. And the other is a rendering of Humpty Dumpty's poem, I Sent a Message to the Fish, again unpublished in his lifetime, except for the first page. Okay, here are two illustrations, on the left by Angel Dominguez, and on the right by Anne Bachelier. From there, well, actually from his Looking Glass and her Wonderland. On the left is the frontispiece for Willy Pagani's 1929 Wonderland. And to the right is just a painting by the mother of a woman I met because I saw her name in the guest book. Her name is Allison Wonder. So of course we had to become friends. Not a very significant painting, but whatever. So at the top of the stairs is my latest acquisition. This is a drawing by Peter Cooper, who's known for Spy versus Spy and Mad Magazine. And you'll be reading all about this in the forthcoming Night Letter, which you should be getting in a couple of weeks. So also on this first floor now are two more Carroll Kelly crossovers. Walking up the stairs, the first thing you see on the right is a quite enormous print that was actually made by the 1928 steamroller that it depicts. It was a fundraiser for the, I wrote about it in the Night Letter, but it's basically a print that came from the steamroller running over and pressing the ink into it and so on. Where am I? Okay, and below that is one of two signed Ralph Steadman prints. And here's the other one. I really love this. In his books, it came out rather fuzzy, but when we did the annotated Alice, we got it actually from his original art. So it came out very clear and beautiful. Here's a couple more on the left from a gentleman named Meekst, and the right from the underground cartoonist Kim Deitch from their books. Oh yes, the left, two Night Letter covers actually. The left is from Nicole Clavalou, and on the right was a slightly less risque version, was used as the cover of the Night Letter by my friend Yvette Gavarts. Okay, the oil painting on the left is from David Delamere's book. And the one on the right is from a forthcoming West African Alice that I'm working with the author on. Two prints, sorry. One obviously from Ralph Steadman. And on the right is one of my first non-book Alice purchases, Martin Baruchian, but several decades ago. Okay, further up the stairs, on the staircase, these are three original drawings from Oleg Lipchenko's Looking Glass, which you may recognize. The middle is an enormous print of a drawing by Sergio Garcia Sanchez that was in the New York Times Book Review. He gives one pie slice to each chapter. I encouraged him to make a print of it. So sitting as I am currently at my desk, the two things I see are, yes, another Kelly Carroll crossover on the left, and on the right, another by Nicole Clavalou. I love the fact that she draws Carroll as the Hatter, because as she said, it is from his hat that all the characters came out, starting with a rabbit. Okay, a few nice prints. My father had well, let's see, no, I've skipped one. Let me go back. Yes, I'm sorry. On the left is one by Adriana Pelliano. And then the two drawings from which all the illustrations in Yasin Dusalev's Wonderland and Looking Glass were extracted. If you just see the books, you might not know that they all fit together into one illustration, but they both do. Sorry, so now, my father had a patient named Charles Ware, who was a continuously broke artist. Perhaps that's redundant, but he paid him in Alice prints and occasionally original art. These are prints. I like them very much. I have a lot of them. I think that Alice in the lower left corner, but one is the only, I can't really see what I'm doing. One of those is an original, the rest prints. Okay, so of course we all understand that wall space is at a premium. I don't have the wall space to put all of these things up, so I keep them in a rack, as you see there. That's a Charles Ware on the front. And some other pieces in the rack include a nice drawing of the Little Girls by Byron Sewell, Dan O'Neill original cartoon, and on the bottom, a signed print of the great Peanuts cartoon signed by Jeannie, Sparky's widow. We talked earlier about an Aboriginal Alice. That was from the 90s. This is Byron Sewell did one in 1975. This is the original art for one of his illustrations for that. It was called Alichi in the Dreamtime. And those that are small enough, actually, I put into a portfolio. Tommy Kovacs, who's spoken to us, he did a comic called Skelebunnies, and which this is a page from, and then he went on to do the Alternative Wonderland comic book series for Disney. Here's some cartoon art from Dave Coverley. Those of you who read the Night Letter know how much I like throwing cartoons in there. Layla Dowling, a great cartoonist, did a very wonderful adaptation of Alice in comic book form, later printed as a paperback. These are some original drawings. Some more drawings by Byron from his Evertype publications. I'm particularly fond also of these by Mahendra Singh. Most of them are from his Hunting of the Snark, but the one in the middle is the frontispiece to the 150th anniversary annotated Alice. Evert Geratz, whom I mentioned earlier, did a Snark in Dutch. These are some drawings from that. And what else? On the left is a Zippy cartoon by Bill Griffith. And on the right, sketches for an undeveloped and unpublished story by the one and only Wally Wood. So I guess that's it. I can go back into non-sharing mode.
Well, thank you for sharing. That was that was just like a little snippet, I know, of your collection, but yeah, everyone in the chat is completely dazzled. You have some generous offers to use their walls if you run out of space.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah, Gabriela mentioned that. Someone wanted to know, do you open your tower to the public at all?
Absolutely, I love visitors. And
actually, if you could stop sharing, you stopped your screen, your
trying.
Slideshow, but not the sharing altogether. There you are. Okay.
Yes, I love visitors. Don't just drop in though. I think I send my email there, and I'll put it again in the chat room. If we have a little, I've hosted the Carroll Society here also, but yeah, send me an email. And if you're in the wine country in Northern California, come visit.
Fantastic. I think you might have some people taking you up on that invitation.
Yay.
Now, Mark, before our group Q&A, I actually need to call an audible because I noticed one of our presenters, Jacquelin Smith, she is not here as a presenter. She's here as an attendee. And Jacquelin, I've been trying to get you in the chat here. I don't know if you're prepared to talk or if you'd like me to maybe show your chess set. I have your website up. So I'm going to click allow to talk, Jacquelin, and you can tell me whether you would like to speak or not.
Skyping. I see a little thing here on this picture of me. If I hit that,
you're going to go.
I'm going to see what happens.
Now
what happened?
I didn't notice anything happening, actually. We're still seeing
Right,
you.
I'm going to try to turn it around.
Okay.
This way, Walt, to her left. Okay, can you hold that there, Walt?
Yes, I will.
Okay, my husband's going to hold that.
All right, wonderful.
I'm going to go through this fast so that I don't bore everybody. But my name's Jacquelin Baker Smith, and I have an email address of concepts15@aol.com. That's ideas, and I'm telling you this because our building is going through a problem we're in the eye of the hurricane here, and they're fooling around with the internet, so I can't guarantee anything. But there are two sets that I made. I was a collectibles sculptor and concept developer for all the major collectibles companies. And I'm also a children's book writer and illustrator. And if somebody wants to learn about me and what I did more importantly, they can Google me, Jacquelin Baker Smith, and they will see probably pages of stuff that I've done over the years for Franklin Mint and Lennox and Hamilton and all of them. But when I got involved with this, I wanted to do something. I sort of fell in love with Lewis Carroll. I'm not sure why. No, you were right where you were. Stay back there. Will.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I fell in love with Lewis Carroll in the story, and there were a lot of sameness about Lewis Carroll and myself. I wasn't as brilliant and I wasn't as good, but I'm deaf in my right ear, and so was he. And I like white and he liked white. So we'll just say that to start with. But anyway, I spent 22 years creating Through the Looking Glass chess set. And what I'm showing you here are artist proofs. Artist proof 1 of 2 is monochromatic. And the other set is artist proof 2 of 2, and that is in color. And the boards are 26 inches square. And a lovely thing about this set was my son, who is now deceased, when I got the plasters done, he lettered the pieces, the rank and the pieces on it, because I really didn't do that. I just did all the pieces. So he also did the templates for the side of the board. It says Through the Looking Glass, and then backwards Through the Looking Glass, and they are sandblasted on a mirror. And it's a mahogany frame around a 26 by 26. Now I'm going to show you something that I find of interest, that I corrected a lot of things with this set that was upsetting to Lewis Carroll. And one of the things that most important is that he wanted to do those illustrations, and in fact had done some, and Macmillan didn't like them, and he put them on, let Tenniel do the illustrations. I'm trying to keep him where he's staying. Okay, so here are Lewis Carroll and Tenniel. This is Lewis Carroll. Back up a little bit more. This is Lewis Carroll, and this is Tenniel. Can you see them? Are you able to see
Yes,
them?
We can see them perfectly.
Okay, so
they
that's
are
Lewis
fantastic.
and Tenniel, and that's from the colored set. The monochromatic is what you see down at the bottom of the screen. And all 32 pieces in here are characters from the book based on their conversations. And so I corrected a lot of things, which I won't get into now because I know time's of essence. But if people want to email me at concepts15@aol.com, I will answer any questions. This is Alice herself. Here she is in color. And as a cat, at the end, she says to Dinah, that Dinah, you were the queen, and the kittens, the 2 kittens, these are the 2 kittens, or the queens, white and red, and Humpty Dumpty is Dinah. So that was the motivation for me to make this set. And I spent 22 years sculpting them. Then I made plasters. I made plaster molds, and I cleaned them up and finalized them. And then I had molds made and I poured resins. So these are resins, and there's 32 different pieces, all different in each set. I'm 85 years old. I have no heirs. I'm concerned about what's going to happen with this set, and I'm looking for collectors that can love it and realize what this is. And that's as much as I can say. If they have any questions, they can email me, or if they're giving you any questions, you can tell me, but I'm going to walk this over and show you the colored set without those pieces. Now you're going to have to tell me if you can see it.
Yes, it's a little wobbly at the moment. Yes, we can see.
Well, yes, because I'm holding it.
Yeah.
And I'm nervous.
Oh, don't be. Everyone, I mean, if you could read the chat here, everyone is just absolutely dazzled by this.
Can you see this?
Yes.
That side? And the pieces are missing because I took them over there. And this is the other side. Am I showing them?
Yes, you are. Oh,
well,
beautiful.
So that's that. And I am very concerned with not having heirs. We lost our son, and he's the one who did the templates for the lettering and who was so gracious to. I would send them up to Jersey from Florida as I got them done, and he put them all in there for me. So it's a sort of a joint effort there. And I'm really happy and proud to be able to show it. And I hope I can find a collector that can understand what this is and what it took to make.
Yeah, I mean, that was actually the only question really in the chat that you just answered was, you know, do you sell this? How would one get one of these wonderful chess sets? So I'm going to put the link to your website in the chat because I have it up right here so that people can look at that, get a closer look.
Okay.
And thank you so much. I'm so glad we finally, I know you've attempted to join the show and tell at least one other time before and it didn't work out. So I'm so happy we finally got to see this. And
you know, when you're 85, these things don't come easy.
I understand.
Constantly change.
Yeah, believe me, it can be confusing for those a lot younger as well, I think. And I want to invite all of our wonderful presenters to unmute themselves and turn their cameras on, and we can have just sort of a little group Q&A. If any of you have questions for each other, I would love to hear them. And also while you do that, I'm going to put another link in the chat to our social hour, and there will be a social hour after. I don't think I mentioned that earlier, but in past years, the social hour after the show and tell often just kind of turned into an extended show and tell, just some of our audience excited about showing their own items. So that will be fun. Change this to gallery view. All right, do any of you have any questions for each other?
Well, I was astounded at the collection of well, I can't think, Burstein, Mr. Burstein. And I really was fascinated to see that. And I know that there's many people like him. And it's it worries me because, you know, times are changing so much to hold the interest in something so wonderful as what Lewis Carroll gave us. And I felt like I helped somehow get across the things that he wasn't happy with in those illustrations, and I fixed it. It's goofy, right?
No, not at all. I love it.
Yeah, Carroll was extremely picky about his illustrations.
She looks like my granddaughter. She could be my granddaughter, that one. She's a cutie.
Oh, maybe you should give the chess set to her.
Maybe mommy will buy it for her, right? I would like to get an auction going. If I got a price and they could work it out between them. You know, I don't know. I'm really not good at marketing. I didn't market. I was the one that created things. And so I understand there's a value to what I have here, but it's no value if my husband's going to have it cremated with my body, you know.
Would never, right?
That's why I'm on here. He keeps telling me that.
Oh my heavens.
Sense of humor.
And by the way, when Jacquelin says she's worked for like some of the biggest, porcelain, is that how you'd say it? But Franklin Mint, Lenox, right? Like, yeah.
Collectibles companies. Just Google Jacquelin Baker Smith. It's Bardner, like Gardner with a B. Jacquelin Baker Smith. You'll find a lot of stuff. Right now, I see stuff from Lenox, Teddy's First Christmas. Now, my name's not on that series, but I did the whole series of 12 on that. And some I sculpted, and some of the sets I did Woodland Surprises, which ran 9 years with Franklin Mint. Some of them have my name, and some of them, when I started early on, I was, you know, just doing it. But then I got to have a name. So it would be a good collection to have.
I think a lot of people here agree with you for sure. I had a thought when Robert was presenting that Amy and Zane should zoom in for Identity Week. Wouldn't that be useful since your opera was all about Alice finding her own identity? I think that'd be great.
I saw that as one of the key things.
Oh, can you speak up just a little, Robert?
No, I saw that as one of the key things that I wanted to talk to the students about. I've always told them that that a good education is like Chinese water torture. And they say, what's that? And I say, well, you get a drop of water on your head. And they say, well, how's that going to make any difference? And I said, well, you get another one and another one and another one. And after you've had 10,000 of them, you lose your mind. And that's what an education is like, but in a good way. Every time you come into class, you get a drop of education. And after you've had about 10,000 drops, you have a totally new mind. And I think, Alice, what's the saying? I can't go back to who I was yesterday because I was a different person yesterday. I think that, we all recognize that we're not the same person that we were when we were 4 years old. We've seen 4-year-olds and we're not a 4-year-old. And there's a dramatic difference in what we are compared to what we were. And your identity as well. I think, when she falls in the well and she gets 10 feet tall and she talks with the gruff voice and booming command. And, I think she's taken on her character of her true self. I think that that was an intended allegory, anyway, it's a possibility. I think that, one of the things I learned is in teaching this class, one of the things I like about teaching the class, is show and tell, and you get to tell people things that they didn't know. And so I was using a cookie cutter of a rabbit's head. And my wife said, well, isn't it lucky that it was Easter time when you did this? And so you could find that cookie cutter in the store easily. And I said, well, they really just associated Easter with, some pagan ritual. And she said, oh, really? What pagans? And I said, oh, I don't know, which is the other thing I like about teaching things. And so I looked it up, and it was Aester, the Saxon goddess of the spring. And she had a psychopomp, which I also didn't know what a psychopomp was, but it's like Harvey the Rabbit in the movie. It's a guide to the underworld and the dream world. So when she follows the white rabbit into the rabbit hole and goes into the underworld and has this dream, she's being led through the dream by the psychopomp of Easter. And so, all of these kinds of things are there in the story. And I thought that was really fascinating.
Definitely. We've got a question for Gabriela and Mark. What is the maintenance like for your collection?
Well, for me, sometimes it's just difficult finding something unique. Especially, it starts to get to the point where illustrations in books sometimes is just like finding different illustrations. Sometimes they're not very specific on how they are. But maintenance-wise, I just, as much time as I dedicate finding new things, it's also as much time as I spend cleaning it and like moving in and trying to set it up nicely. Sometimes when I get more stuff, I rearrange everything, but just, something I enjoy doing.
We had it backwards. That's why I originally tried to put it that way, facing this way.
How about you, Mark?
Yeah, every once in a while, about a month ago, I find I have to kind of rearrange everything because, I keep adding new books, and that means the bookshelf. And then every couple of years, I have people come in and dust it. But I don't know. I look at this more as a reference library than one of these white glove places where everything has to be so pristine. So it's a living collection, and so I don't spend all that much time, dusting it. Every once in a while, dust it off.
Yeah, that sounds very overwhelming. Dusting it, does it take a week?
collator is more appreciated when you can interact and you can like touch it and move it and everything. Sometimes when it's those that are behind like crystal glass and everything, you can just see them from outside. Like it's not much more fun. It's more fun when people come and see and like, oh, they're interested in that book, you know, it caught their attention, or a figurine or an art or something, and they can see it up close and appreciate the details. I feel like it's a more heartwarming collection, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's now I lost my thought. Oh yeah, I have a hard time sometimes finding a book, because unlike Alan, I don't have pictures of all the spines. So, you know, that's another good reason to like go through all of them. It's like, so I can figure out, where did I put that? Yeah. So yeah, maintenance is a big deal.
Dieter, I think this question is for you. Does your snark have any real words in it? Bernadine is wondering. Did you talk about the snark? I'm not sure. She said the African snark.
No, I don't have an Afrikaans snark. I think snark was translated into Afrikaans, and I doubt strongly that Sylvian Bruno was ever translated, yeah, or even read here, except by me. Yes, no snark in Afrikaans. I think that would be one of the most difficult things to translate.
Yeah, for sure. All right, I just, oh, go ahead.
No, for example, in this Afrikaans Looking Glass, the final poem, the acrostic, is not translated. I think because it's, in the first place, it's an acrostic. But I know there have been other people there have been translations of that final poem, but instead of an acrostic, they just translated, you know, the poem without keeping the acrostic. Because I don't think you can translate and keep the acrostic in any other language except English. To spell out Alice Pleasance Little.
That would be a unique challenge, yeah.
That would be, but yeah, in general, it is possible to translate the poem just for itself and leave out the acrostic.
All right, so I just dropped the Zoom meeting for our social hour, the link into the chat there. Might be a social half hour. We've run a little long here, but I want to thank our presenters so much. This was just such a wonderful example of the different ways that Carroll inspires all of us. I think, you know, some people are so into the books, the art, the opera, anything. It's just, yeah, it's so inspiring hearing all about this today. And again, I know this is one of our members' favorite events throughout the year. So thank you so much. It wouldn't be possible without you wonderful volunteers. And I will see, oh, one bit of news, breaking news, I almost forgot. April 15th has been confirmed for a virtual spring conference. So our big spring conference, it's gonna be online, April 15th. And we are also cooking up, me and my senior common room curators, some events for maybe not January, February, March, but at least one or two of those months, we will have our monthly virtual events for you as well. So thank you again to all our presenters and to all of you who watched, and I will see you in the social hour.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.